So when I first heard of Smith Wigglesworth's prayer life, I honestly felt like that would be somewhat of a stretch for my life, much like yourselves. I've got a lot going on, and even still, I was intrigued by the possibility, and I longed to find a way to at least give that a try. So I started out on the weekends. I bought a little cooking timer from the dollar store, just a little cheapy cooking timer, and I set it to go off every 20 minutes. I kept it in my back pocket, and each time that it would go off, I would begin to pray in the Spirit. Sometimes I would do that out loud, but most of the time I just did that in my thoughts. And at first I would get distracted very easily. There were many times when I would have already forgotten about it within the first 5 minutes. It didn't take much at all for me to lose my focus and just become preoccupied with other things and other thoughts. And very rarely, when I first started to do that, very rarely did I ever make it the whole 20 minutes without getting sidetracked and distracted. So what I did find, however, was that after 3 days of doing that as a practice, it gradually became easier to hold my focus. My spirit actually began to go on what I call autopilot. I would find myself praying in the Spirit all through the night because I had conditioned myself to make that a practice during the day. So again, most of it was not audible. It was mostly in my thoughts. It was a spirit to spirit type of thing, type of engagement and dialogue between me and God. In my thoughts, I would pray without ceasing, and mostly a lot of it was just praying in the Spirit. So it didn't matter what I was doing. At that particular time when I first tried that, I was still working in retail. So I'd be standing at the cash register on and off throughout the day, most of the day. Even when there were customers right there in front of me in line, I'd still just be praying in my thoughts. And then during the night, I would just continue with it. And then in the morning, when I woke up, a lot of times I would catch myself sort of in that transitionary state between being fully awake and fully asleep. And I realized that in my thoughts, I was still praying. Sometimes my husband would even mention to me that I was, praying out loud in my sleep, on and off through the night. So it didn't take long to sort of get into a place where I no longer had to set an alarm. I would just go about my day, and then all of a sudden I'd realize that in my thoughts, I was still praying in the Spirit. My spirit had become so conditioned and so trained to pray either audibly or inwardly that it began to learn how to soar. That's sort of what I call soaring in the Spirit. So, over a period of time, it would be sort of hit and miss. If I let it lag, if I got busy with things, I noticed that I would stop soaring. But I also realized, it was something that I could consciously choose to go back to. I could re-engage it at any time. So if I, just kind of fell off the wagon for a while, I would begin to set my alarm all over again and start the same exact way. I would just go back to the way that I initially first engaged in that process. So for some of you, that's something that I want to encourage you to give it a try, even if it's just 1 day a week, 2 days a week.